welcome everyone. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Patrick. I'm here today with the Cardano Foundation, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about NFTs, tokenization, real-world assets, NMKR, everything that we've been doing. And I do have a little bit of a presentation which I'm going to share, but I'll also try to keep it interactive and maybe show a little bit of NMKR Studio and actually maybe show some interesting things we've been working on. I hope you don't hear anything in the background because it's not super quiet, but I think it should be fine. And yeah, let me just begin by just sharing my screen. So I have this very nice presentation here, or maybe it's not nice, but I think it's nice. It's essentially about how we're using NFTs, what NFTs can be used for, and how we're planning to onboard, 1 billion users to Cardano. And that's, of course, a very big goal to onboard 1 billion users. But I think that's the aspiration that we have, and that's the aspiration that Cardano certainly has in crypto, because otherwise, how are we going to change the world if we don't onboard 1 billion users at some point? So yeah, let me begin very quickly with an intro about myself. My name is Patrick. As you probably know, I'm the founder of a company called NMKR, and I have a tech background. So I studied computer science in Germany, in Stuttgart. And since then, I've moved to Switzerland, where the company is located. But now I'm also traveling a lot. I just came from Japan, talking to the Japan DAO Foundation and regulators there that they want to, use crypto very heavily. And right now I'm in India, actually, also, working with a Cardano startup here and trying to really create real world use cases. And, I often like to start with just asking this question, this very simple question, like why NFTs? And it comes down to defining what NFTs really are. And to me, I think the perfect definition of what NFTs are is, they're just a new way of interacting with ownership in the 21st century. Because in the past, ownership was relatively simple. I have a thing, I own it, I can do whatever I like with it. I can sell it, I can destroy it, I can give it to someone, whatever I like, right? But once we got the internet, this changed heavily because now, ownership is not only there's some questions in the chat. Okay, that's just from Umar. Because now in the internet phase, of course, we don't really own most of the stuff. We create many things and we post them on platforms, but we don't really own it, and we don't really own the things that we buy. So for example, my favorite example is always ebooks, right? If I go to Amazon right now and I buy an ebook on my Kindle, which I've done many times, I don't actually own this Kindle. If Amazon goes down, I lose the ebook. If Amazon decides to ban the ebook in certain countries, I lose the ebook. If they decide to change the text, I wouldn't even notice, most likely. They just change it. So I'm really not really buying it. I'm not really owning it. I'm just renting it from them. And that's a big problem because we're essentially giving control to these huge corporations that are centralized in a government that many people around the world have no influence over, the US, of course. And these corporations, they act out of profit, and they will always do what they can do to maximize profit, but they're not doing it for the will of the people, so to speak. So luckily, with NFTs, we have a solution for that. We can create ebooks that are uncensorable. We can create ebooks that you truly own, that you can sell, that you can rent, that you can do whatever you like with, and you can collect. And also, there are royalties for the authors, so there's much more attractive than just putting it up on Kindle. You can actually put it up for sale, and then for every secondary sale, you can also earn money. So that's a really, really cool use case. And many people that are in the Cardano space, of course, know what I'm talking about. There's this famous company we have, book.io, that is doing exactly that. And we're lucky enough with NMKR to be working with them and enabling their backend. But there's also many other companies that are going into this direction, and there's many other areas that you can look at from like an NFT or tokenization perspective. Another one of my three examples is always music. music is basically the exact same problem as with book publishing. You also have all this music that you just listen to on Spotify, but if Spotify takes it down, you don't have access to it anymore. You don't even buy the music, you just subscribe to it, right? So in the past with iTunes, you at least bought individual songs or albums, but now you just pay $10 a month to Spotify and you can listen what they have. And this is very bad for the artists, of course. This is really bad for me because I don't really own it. I can't sell it. I can't do anything with it. There's no collectability with like my vinyls or stuff like that. So yeah, another thing where Web3 really can come in and change this. And on Cardano, we have multiple companies actually doing music. So I know Stuff.io is coming out soon, but also Project Noom, which is essentially tokenizing the streaming royalties of the music. So you can buy a token and you can actually invest into your favorite musician before he's famous, essentially, and get a portion of the money that he makes, which I think is a really cool use case. And then also just the collectability. So you can, just buy a limited music piece as a collector's item, which I think is very interesting. And then the last example that I quickly want to touch upon is real world assets. And that's, of course, a big buzzword. And especially where I'm living right now in Switzerland, all the banks are talking about real world asset tokenization. All the big enterprises are talking about it. And I think it really is going to shape the way that we interact with assets in the future, because it's very simple. Like, we take something which is physical right now, could be real estate, could be a car, could be gold, could be diamonds, could be something like stocks, doesn't really matter. And we just put it on the blockchain as a token. And that's really interesting, because what it does is it allows us to be a lot more liquid in a way. So real estate investing in the past is very difficult. Like, you have to first of all have enough money, right? Then you have to go to a lawyer, you have to sign contracts, you have to get entered in the registry of the state, stuff like that. So many steps and a lot of like unnecessary things involved. But if we put it on the blockchain, we can just make it so that anyone can invest with just $50 or $100, and anyone can trade and sell it very easily. And it's not just an asset that you buy once and then you hold it, your whole life, essentially, which will still, of course, exist for the house that you live in, but it could also be an investment opportunity. And 50 years ago, it wasn't really possible for normal people to invest into stocks, right? But today, everyone can go into stocks. Everyone can download eToro or Robinhood or whatever, and just put in $100 into a stock. So the whole thing becomes more accessible and more democratized, I guess. And I think the same thing is going to happen with real world tokenization. And and to me, I think the most interesting part about it is what happens if we tokenize the assets in countries where there's almost no liquidity right now, and where it's really difficult for me as a retail investor to invest in. Like, think about, tea in Madagascar or something like that. I wouldn't even have the idea of investing there, but it might be a really interesting investment, because there's probably tea farmers there that just lack the liquidity to buy the next crops or the next things that really accelerate their production. And that way I can maybe have 100% return or something crazy like that, which is of course more risky, but it's also something I wouldn't really be able to get in the country that I'm in right now. So the whole thing, because it's one system for everyone, it becomes extremely interesting, and it becomes extremely, how do you call it? Accessible for everyone, which I just love. And the future is really going to be like all of the assets that someone could own are going to be in your wallet, and you can do whatever you like with them. And maybe you can pay with them. Like, maybe money is not going to be a thing in 50 years. Maybe it will be, but could also be that I pay with a fraction of the stocks that I own or so. And the whole like inefficiency that we have right now in this market will be reduced to a minimum. And I think that's really going to accelerate things. So, okay, I'm going to answer all the questions later in the Q&A. I already see there's a few questions in there, but I'm going to wait a little bit. just to emphasize, what we are doing on Cardano with real world assets, one fantastic project here is Empowa, which is essentially doing exactly what I just described. They are giving you investment opportunities into housing in Africa. So they're really doing something good because they're providing housing, but they're also providing investment opportunities for people that want, see this as an interesting way of making more money. So it's a really sustainable market and business model, in my opinion. And of course, there's many others on Cardano that are going into this direction, many that I'm also working with. And the goal is really to position NMKR as the infrastructure below these projects and empower those projects to not have to think about the technology. And yeah, before I go a little bit more into the reasoning what NMKR is doing and what our position in all of this is, let's talk quickly about why Cardano and why we started on Cardano in the first place. To me, there's a lot of advantages to Cardano, but I think the biggest thing is really that you can treat tokens on Cardano as a native asset. So tokens are not a smart contract like on all the other chains, but instead they are native assets. They're natively baked into the design of Cardano, and they're treated exactly the same way as, for example, ADA, which is the base currency, right? And the cool thing about that is that the tokens, one, are super secure. You don't need an audit. You don't need anyone to look at the smart contract and say, okay, this is secure, this is not secure. Because if Cardano is secure, the tokens are also secure. And then number two is really this interoperability piece. So I think that I think is really crucial. Right now, any asset that I issue on Cardano, any NFT that I issue on Cardano, doesn't matter what, is directly interoperable with almost all, or actually all of the DeFi protocols, because they all use the same standard, right? So it's a really, really interoperable ecosystem. And if you think about it, that has a lot of advantages because people come into Cardano because they see this amazing investment opportunity, which exists here, but they don't really care about the blockchain. But then once they realize, okay, there's a whole ecosystem behind the scenes, there's a whole, whatever you want to call it, like DeFi trading aspect or lending protocols or whatever it is, decentralized identity stuff that is connected to Cardano and is able to work with these assets, that might intrigue them. And that might be the reason why they actually, think, okay, now let's go one level deeper and let's move my assets into a non-custodial wallet and let's explore this ecosystem. And that's, for me, that part is super crucial. And of course, there's another, 100 advantages here that I can count down about building on Cardano and so on. It's super secure. It's the most decentralized blockchain. It's has a great ecosystem, great community that focuses on the right values, stuff like that. But yeah, I think this native asset part is something that is often overlooked and, in my opinion, one of the strongest parts about it. Okay, so now that we all talked about what is Cardano and why is it important, let's talk about NMKR, my company. So what do we actually do? We are essentially an infrastructure provider. So that means we say, okay, we want to make it very easy and very accessible for every business to just come in and tokenize whatever they like. Tokenize their books, tokenize their real estate, tokenize whatever they like, right? And the way we do that is we've built this platform called NMKR Studio, which is essentially like I would call it a B2B SaaS tool. So business to business software as a service tool where you can simply go to and then you upload the information that you want to have on the blockchain to NMKR Studio and prepare your NFTs or your tokens or your sale in NMKR Studio. And then NMKR Studio simply gives you a link, essentially, or we call it NMKR Pay, which is our checkout solution, which you can easily integrate into your own website again. So it's all completely built to be white label. You can also do it via API to be 100% white label. And then you can just put it in there and you can say, okay, let's start the sale, right? And once you've started the sale, essentially people go through the payment process in NMKR Pay. They can pay with their credit card. They can pay with also other chain currencies like Solana, Ethereum, etc. And then in the end, what will happen is they will receive the NFT either in a non-custodial wallet, if they have one on Cardano, or a new non-custodial wallet will be created for them. And then they will receive the NFT there. And then, here for like explanatory reasons, I put this picture of the ebook in there. So after that, they can read the book and actually use the NFT. But that also works for anything else, music, real estate, etc. Okay. And that part really important, of course. Once they have done that, they can also just take it and resell it on the secondary market because, as I said, NFTs are interoperable and you can easily just put them on any marketplace, on any DEX, doesn't really matter. Any asset on Cardano works with everything, which is amazing in my mind. So this is the part of my presentation, but before I take any questions, I'm gonna go and maybe show you some practical stuff. But for that, I need to first stop my screen sharing and open NMKR Studio. So give me a few seconds here. So this is NMKR Studio. So this is my account in NMKR Studio, and I think there's nothing like super sensitive in there. So yeah, feel free to take a look. And essentially the way it works is it's really simple. So if I want to create a new project, so for example, if I want to create, I don't know, a new NFT project, I want to create a new fungible token project, I simply go here on the left to NFT minting. I click on create a new project, and then I say, okay, let's call this proof of concept Cardano Foundation Talk NFT project. Okay, so a lot of words, right? And I'm just gonna create this, and I have a lot of settings in here. So I'm gonna select my own wallet. Where is it? Patrick's NAMI wallet as the payout wallet, and I leave the rest as it is, right? Because the rest is irrelevant for now. And then I say, okay, here I can change the policy, also not really relevant for us right now. And I can change the metadata. This is like the metadata template, essentially. So what all the metadata for all the NFTs in this project will look like. But we're also going to ignore that for now and just continue to next. This is the overview. And then I'm going to save the whole thing. And it's going to load. And then, ta-da, we see, okay, we have a new project created now. So now I can go into this project and I see nothing because we have 0 NFTs in there right now and 0 tokens. So let's just create a new token, proof of concept token 001, for example. I can give it a token name. I can also give it a display name, which is a little bit more descriptive. You can use special characters, stuff like that. I can give it a description. Let's say this is a test. Oops. And then I go through this, and now I'm at the point where I can essentially just upload any image. And let me see if I have something let's take this one. We use this in Japan to set up a DAO, actually. So this is just an example image. Now I'm going to upload this. This is essentially the preview image that is going to show up for the NFT. But now I could also say, okay, let's add subfiles. And subfiles can be everything. Subfiles could be, an image, of course, but it could be a PDF. It could be an EPUB file. It could be a music file. It could be, I don't know, whatever you like a 3D rendering file. It doesn't really matter. And you can have as many subfiles as the blockchain allows from a transaction size limit. So a lot, really a lot. And this file just got hashed essentially, and it got uploaded into IPFS. And IPFS is called the Interplanetary File System, which is a crazy name, but essentially it just means that it's a decentralized storage mechanism. So we're not storing it on Cardano itself. Cardano is not built for that. Cardano is not built to hold all the files in itself, but instead we're storing it on a decentralized network that is going to be referenced on Cardano. And yeah, and here I can do some more stuff, which we're not going to need. And then I just click on save. And here you see, okay, now we have an NFT. You can click here on show images. You see, okay, the image here is there and the name is there. And I can now actually take a look at the metadata. And the metadata is actually what's on chain in the end. So this will be on chain. And it says a lot of things here. Most of them are not really relevant for the end user. We're getting a little bit technical here. Even just by opening NMKR Studio, I guess we're very technical. But you can see here, this is the policy ID. So this is basically the like reference point where you will find all of these NFTs under this project. This is the name. This is the image on IPFS. You can see, okay, it got hashed, and that's how we can find it on IPFS. There's the description that we entered, and so on. And now if I continue, sorry, Uma, can you hear that in the background right now? Because I can ask them to turn it down a little bit. Okay, it's fine. Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay, so now, of course, we created this NFT, and you can see, okay, it is active, but it's free. So this means it's not on the blockchain right now. And we can now actually just bring it on the blockchain, and we can actually sell it. And to sell it, what we're going to do is we're going to create a price. So we're going to say, for example, one NFT costs, let's say, euro, 15 euro, right? So this NFT, if I wanted to buy it, would cost 15 euro. I activate the price. I click on save. Gets converted to ADA automatically. So you can see 15 euro right now is 35 ADA. And down here in this integration tab, this is the interesting part. Here, essentially, I can I see there's an NMKR Pay button, so a similar to like a PayPal checkout button, and I can just click on this, and it's gonna open NMKR Pay in a new tab, and then you know I see, okay, wow, I can buy this now, and I can buy it with all the supported Cardano wallets. So whatever wallet you have, it's basically supported. I'm on a browser where I don't have any wallets, so none of them are actually going to be working right now. But maybe for the sake of it, let's just do that. Let me stop my screen share for a second. And I'm going to switch into a different browser. Where is it? Zoom, share screen. And I have too many tabs in my life. Okay, here we go. And oh, it's in Japanese right now because I was testing the Japanese translation. Let me change that to English. Okay, so now it's changed to English. You can see I have a lot of tabs in here, but yeah. Essentially now let's just try purchasing this. I'm gonna use my Nami wallet, and okay, click on the entity that does not have a pair. I think that is this. Capture. Let's take this one. Okay, very nice. Click on buy now. And what's going to happen is now it's going to prompt me in Nami to pay those 35 ADA. I'm going to click sign, enter my password, click on confirm. And now we basically just wait until the payment has been made on chain, and then the NFT will come back. It's going to take a while, and that's mostly because my wallet is a very big one, not in terms of ADA, unfortunately, but in terms of total transactions ever made through that wallet. And because of that, it's a bit slow. But oh yeah, you see, okay, it was already received. So that's very good, actually. That's very fast. That means Cardano at the moment is very fast. And now it's going to send out the token. And then, you know, once I receive the token in my wallet, it's going to show up here, and then I will be able to view it. But yeah, and that's basically how we standardize this process, and we try to make it as easy as possible. And you can actually go as far as saying, okay, I want to only enable fiat, for example, or I want to enable Ethereum payments or Solana payments. And you can just enable that inside NMKR Studio. And then instead of showing the wallets here, it would show me a prompt to enter my credit card. So it's really designed to be easy for onboarding. And you see, okay, congratulations on your purchase. The token has been added to your wallet. And now I can just click on reveal token, and it's going to show me the token. Ta-da. and now I have the token, and that's it. So it's a very simple process, in my opinion, and it's really designed to be simple, so we can onboard more and more people. So yeah, that's basically how like this whole process in NMKR Studio works and how the whole setup works. Let me share a few more things with you. So I'll show you a preview version of what we're working on right now for real world assets specifically. So this is actually Finest. So this is the project that we've been working in the background on together with two amazing Cardano partners, one of them IMX and one of them Fluid Tokens. And the idea here really is to make investments into real world assets as easy as possible. So the idea is, these are all test projects here right now, but the idea is really to be able to just go in there, log in, and then enter with your Google account, essentially. Let's try if this works. If it works. Oh no, that's annoying. My password is a little bit complicated to find. Okay. And now basically I'm creating a new account and I get logged in, and this might seem unspectacular for you because you're used to this kind of login, but it's actually really spectacular because now what I can do is I can click on this and you will see, oh wow, there's two wallets in the background created for me in my Google account right now. And I didn't see any seed phrase or any complicated onboarding mechanism, but I just see the wallets. I have a Polygon wallet here now and I have a Cardano wallet. And this is really cool because what I can do is I can just top up my Finest account and add money to it. So I could say, okay, let's top it up with like a credit card or top it up with ADA. And I just go through this process and it asks me for, you know, credit card payment. I can say, okay, I want to pay $100. And then, yeah, I have to enter my mobile number, stuff like that. And I have to enter my credit card. But essentially what's going to happen once I go through this is this ticker here is going to go up to $100 in this case. And then I would be able to just go to any of these projects and say, okay, I want to buy a token from this. And unfortunately, I still have to do KYC on this account. So I'm not going to show that, but it's a very simple KYC. But once I've done KYC, I can literally just one press click buy, and I will get a token, and this token will be minted on, you know, Cardano and will be received on this wallet in the background, which is pretty amazing because I don't, as a normal user, I don't even see that there's Cardano involved. I only see it if I want to see it. If I click on my account, and then I can withdraw it, and I can basically say, okay, select the token. I don't have any right now, but in theory, I could select the token. I could enter my Cardano wallet. And I am able to just send it to, you know, my normal non-custodial Cardano wallet, like my Nami wallet that we just bought the NFT from, and that's it. And I think that's pretty cool because that can really be an onboarding mechanism to crypto and to Cardano, and that's what we're aiming here for. So stay tuned for Finest, finest.investments, and hopefully, you know, more information about it very soon. So then let me stop the screen. And then maybe before we go to questions and stuff like that, let's do one more jump into NMKR Studio. Where is it? Here. So now I'm back in NMKR Studio, right? And I can see, okay, this proof of concept token here has now been sold, which is fantastic. And I can see this asset ID. And if I click on it, I go to Cardano scan, and I can essentially see, okay, now this token has been minted. There was a mint transaction. It's a little bit slow right now. Yeah, so this is the mint transaction. You can see it here. I can click on the transaction ID, and you see, okay, as input, these 35 ADA were used, and as output, you know, the NFT was sent to my one address, and then the remaining ADA, like the payment, was sent to my other address. And this other address and the one I bought it from are actually the same address because I entered that as the payout wallet address, but that's how it works. But again, like this stuff that I'm showing here is very technical. Most people will never even see this. And it doesn't really matter. It's just interesting, I think, for people that are watching this workshop to see. Let's go back to NMKR Studio. Yes, and here, you know, I have a whole overview. So here I can see all the other transactions that have been made in the last 6 days. There's a little bit of stuff for Emergo because we're partnering with them, and there's many other things. And you know, in NMKR Studio, the minting part, of course, is the most important one. But we have a lot of features at this point. We have custom NFT stores, we have auctions, we have secondary sales, so basically like an aggregator for JPEG store, smart contract, and many others. So there's a lot of stuff in here, and we're really trying to build the most comprehensive toolkit of being able to issue tokens, issue NFTs across all chains. And yeah, and I think we're at a good point there. We minted more than, how many NFTs have we minted? I think we minted more than 2.3 or 2.4 million NFTs, which is a lot. And the one metric that I'm super proud of is this one here. The volume we directly created just through this initial sale on Cardano. I think this number is even outdated. It should be more than $70 million now. So projects come to NMKR to create something, and they actually earn money with it. And that's the proof of it here, this number. And it's really about enabling creators. And that I love, because we are helping people to come to Cardano to build a real business. And we love having customers, like I said, Book.io or Newcast or Noom, or all of these projects that are really there to create a difference, to create like these real world long-term experiences. And here, down here, we have a few of those use cases. So one of my other favorite example are these sneakers here that we launched together with Oremop and Flowers for Society. So these are actual physical sneakers. I have them at home that you could buy with the NFT. And these here are tokenized diamonds, also fantastic, where you can buy the NFT diamond, and then there's a diamond which gets stored in a vault in Liechtenstein. And once you burn the NFT, you can receive the actual diamond. But in between, you have the opportunity to just take the diamond and transfer it from A to B. Here, the same thing with a physical shirt. We did the Cardano Summit NFTs last year. We minted an NFT for Stephen Wolfram. We minted a lot of books. We minted fine art, tokenized one, fractionalized one. We worked with the World Star Championship. So there's a lot of stuff that we've been involved in. And we're always looking for these, as you can see, real world use cases, and not just for the next, like, you know, next money grab, essentially. Okay. Yeah, I think I talked a lot already. I see we have a few questions here in the chat, so I'm gonna try to answer them. Let's start with the first one. Answer live. Okay, can anyone see this question now? I don't know how this works. But the question is essentially, can you explain how blockchain can enhance the transparency and security of RWAs? I think this is a very good question, because essentially, you know, I think the main issue about real world assets right now is that they're A, not accessible, and B, not transparent. So if I purchase a house, I don't necessarily know if this house has been bought for how much money this house has been bought, like 2 years ago, or, you know, 4 years ago from the previous owner and stuff like that. So there's a lot of like intransparency here that I don't really know. And basically, if it's on the blockchain, you know, these trades are public and they're secure and no one can tamper with them. And because of that, I know, okay, this is what happened. This is how the price developed. This is how they were issued, by who they were issued, stuff like that. So there's really like a trail of trust that I can build by putting it on the blockchain. Oh yeah, there's one here, which I like. What are some notable projects and collaborations you are involved in? Tell us a bit about your engagement with the Indian boxing and also Timons. Timons I just spoke about. So, you know, tokenized diamonds on the blockchain. I think this is one of the very first real world assets on Cardano, and I'm very proud of working with them. And we're planning to expand that even into other real world asset areas as well. And, you know, as I said, I'm currently in India, and I'm in India specifically because I think the Indian market is a really interesting one. And there's a lot of like cool stuff happening here. And the last time I was in India, I met these guys from the Indian Pro Boxing League. And it's basically like a startup. They're trying to establish pro boxing as a real big sport here in India. And they said, okay, let's do it, via NFTs. Let's do it via tokenization. Let's tokenize whole teams. Let's build a whole ecosystem around it. So they're very young and they really understand the power of blockchain. So it was a pleasure to work with them. And I'm looking to meet them again while I'm here in India, of course, and expand the partnership. But also many other Indian companies, of course, that are doing things here. Because this is, I love India, but it's also a country where you can change a lot of things and make a lot of things better, to say it nicely. So yeah, that's really, really my goal. Okay, another one. Hi, Patrick. How does NMKR platforms ensure the ongoing compliance of tokenized RWAs with regulatory standards? That's a fantastic question. So two areas there. One is we have NMKR Studio, the tech infrastructure, right? And there we say, okay, it's not our responsibility to be compliant. We have it completely open. Anyone can sign up. Anyone can create their own project. But we are just a technology provider. We are not handling the compliance for you. You have to do that yourself. And if you're doing something illegal, that's your problem and not ours. We are just a technology. Then on the other side, what I've shown earlier with Finest, or potentially with other projects that we're working very closely together, like Timons, for example, we are involved with the compliance and we are trying to standardize that and make it easy for projects to come to us and say, okay, I want to issue a tokenized house, for example. And if we've done that before, it's very easy for us to just take the same template that we used and apply it to this new project as well. Okay, there's so many questions coming. Keep them coming. Okay, next one. Are you planning to attend the summit this year? I'm based in Abu Dhabi. I'm launching a new solution for the UAE market, and it would be great to catch up there. We could chat about our fiat to crypto payment solution and other topics. Yes, I'm planning to come to the summit. Absolutely, I definitely will be there. And yeah, let's catch up. Absolutely. In your opinion, how do we get more developers building on Cardano? That's a really good question too, because it's interesting. Cardano is a very good blockchain and it has some really, really smart developers. And you can tell, I would say, that the average skill of the average Cardano developer is much higher than on other chains, simply because the entry barrier is a little bit more difficult to enter. And we have to change that. We have to make the entry barrier as low as possible. We have to have more APIs, more super simple SDKs, more super simple tools to use to onboard people to Cardano. And yeah, and then, so that's one part of the answer. And I think that's being worked on every day, all day. But the second part of the answer is we need to also make sure that there's enough funding. Right now, I would argue the biggest problem for projects on Cardano is funding. Because if you really realistically look at it, JPEG Store publicly announced, the biggest NFT marketplace on Cardano publicly announced they got $6 million in funding, which is a big amount, of course. But then you look at other blockchains like Solana, their Metaplex raised over 100 million. Or the biggest wallet on Solana, Phantom Wallet, also raised over 100 million. Or the NMKR, like the Solana version of NMKR, Metaplex, they raised 56 million, and it's very difficult to compete with these super well-funded projects if you don't have the budget. And this might be possible while you're generating revenue. It might be possible in like a good market, but in the bear market, we as a company can feel that heavily. Like Cardano has no serious money involved, and you can tell because the projects have to let people go relatively quickly. They never hire as much and stuff like that. And NMKR, right now is the I think second or third most used platform on Cardano by total active wallets, and we're not profitable, right? And it's not our job to be profitable at this point in time if we want to work as a normal startup, because startups, they invest and they scale, and then at some point they become profitable. But if we are the second or third biggest company and we're not profitable and we don't have any or not much funding, how is it going for all these other projects that are not being used as much. So this is a big issue in my opinion, and we need to figure out a way to attract large investors and really get them into Cardano. Okay. Another question from Alice. Can you share a little preview of the NMKR Berlin Hackathon in July? Yes, of course. Let me go to the meetup page to show you. So we are organizing a hackathon in Berlin, a Cardano hackathon, actually. So it's not only about NMKR, it's about Cardano. And the idea is really, we are not trying to attract just Cardano people. We are trying to attract people from the outside Cardano space, but also from the inside Cardano space, to have like a nice mix and teach them about Cardano and teach them about NMKR, of course, but also about all the possibilities on this chain. And I think another thing that's really nice is we want to have a hackathon, of course, but we also are going to have talks and panels, because the building that we're doing it in is really cool. Downstairs, there's like a cinema, and you can have really nice talks there, and you can basically bring business people in at the same time as the developers that are upstairs, and then they can mingle, and maybe there's like some nice connections and some nice opportunities to work together, and hopefully we can bring Web2 businesses to see and to interact with these Cardano startups or Cardano developers, and not just developers. It's really about this intercommunication part, or whatever you like to call it. And of course, the Cardano Foundation is a sponsor, which is fantastic. Emergo and IOG are also sponsors. And it's going to be a really great event. So feel free to sign up. Just type in Cardano Hackathon Berlin in Meetup, and and participate. Okay. Rob Gaskell asked, very interesting developments. I like the ease of use. Will you develop a marketplace similar to OpenSea? That's an interesting question. We started with that vision at the beginning. I always wanted to develop a marketplace at the beginning, but we realized we missed our target, and we did too many things, and we were spread too thin. We started, hiring like crazy in the bull market. We were making a lot of money, and we hired people to work on a marketplace, hired people to work on NMKR Pay, studio, marketing, everything, right? And NMKR grew super quickly, but it grew too quickly, and we never really got to the quality level that we should have gotten to if we just focused on one product. So that was, to be honest, one of the biggest mistakes that I've made. And because of that, now we changed focus. We had to scale down a lot, and we really focused on just making minting as good as possible and be the #1 in that area. I think that's a much better startup approach, and what we should have done from the beginning. But it's my first company too, so you never learn enough. Multisig tokens, advantages and costs. Yes, so multisig minting is a very popular way of minting on Cardano. And essentially the difference is that normally minting is like kind of centralized, where you basically say, okay, send 10 ADA to this address, and then we work with those 10 ADA, and we send out the funds to the project. We take the NMKR fee, and we of course mint the NFT. So it's a centralized way of minting. But then multisig minting on the other side basically does all of that in one transaction. And there are advantages and there are disadvantages. So one of the advantages is, it takes less transactions. So it's a bit cheaper in general, and it's also faster. The disadvantage is you can see the token name that is being minted. So if there's like rarities built into your project, and you can discover the rarities by the token name, then that leads to like some exploits. So you have to, like, it's not an issue if you know about it, but if you don't know about it, you could make a mistake and get exploited as a project owner. And then another one, which for me is really big, is multisig minting makes it much more difficult to integrate other payment solutions. So for example, fiat payment, or whatever you like to call it, like Solana, other chain payments, or if you want to just do an airdrop, stuff like that, you cannot do with multisig. So I think, it's a tool you can use. In the end user doesn't really care if it's multisig or not, right? It's a tool you can use if you know what you're doing, but it's not really necessary. And then the NMaker, it's very easy to enable. It's just a toggle, so you can say yes or no. But yeah, I personally don't think that multi-segmenting is that important at this point. Okay, answer live. What is the current state of auctions on NMaker? From Timmy again. So auctions is one of these things. We have auctions. We have like basically a system to start an auction. What we do not have, an API to start an auction, to monitor the auction. What we do not have is a visual implementation. So we don't have a UI for it. We have it in the roadmap to integrate it into NMaker Pay at some point, so you can easily just launch an auction through NMaker Pay. But right now you cannot. And to be honest, auctions on Cardano never really took off. So yeah, it became one of these features that we built, and we thought many people would use it and we would quickly expand into more auctions, but then we didn't. So it's still in the backlog to make it better, but in theory, projects can start using the API if they really want to. What's the next big thing coming for NMaker this year? I mean, I talked a bit about it. For me, the biggest thing that we're working on is there's two things. One that I cannot talk about, and the other one is Finest. So the real world asset in tokenization launchpad. So if you're interested in that, go to finest.investments, enter your email, your name, and so on, and you'll get a notification when we actually go live. And I'm very, very excited for that. Will you allow users to pay for NFTs with more stable coins like Tether and other tokens like Matic or Sol? Yes, that's the plan. So Tether right now we don't support. We support all stable coins on Cardano. So we support something like IUSD or Mehen or Jet. In general, we support all native tokens on Cardano. But we do not support we do not support the tokens on other chains right now. But yeah, we want to definitely make that happen. Like my ideal scenario is in NMaker, you can choose whatever you like to pay with and you get a token. And it doesn't really matter which blockchain you're on, and it doesn't really matter what blockchain you end up on. We just want to make this transfer into all directions as easy as possible. So another question. So many questions. Thank you so much for all these questions. If someone uses your platform to build their own solution, can they hypothetically KYC their users but allow the users to keep their data? Yes, that's a very good question and very technical. Absolutely yes. So in practice, there's many ways to achieve this, but in practice, you can see NMaker as a modular thing. At the base layer, there's the API. Right? And you can use the API however you like. You can build your own complete checkout system. You can do KYC, you can do payments in, I don't know, like Indian rupee or whatever you like, right? And it's completely modular. And then on top, what we've built is NMaker Pay. And NMaker Pay is another like no-code module, basically. And NMaker Pay has less functionalities because you cannot influence what people pay with, for example. You just have to use the options that we provide, but we standardize it and we try to work on it. So it's probably a better idea for you to use it, except if you have, the time and resources to spend on building something better. But even NMaker Pay allows you to basically be called by the API and to be used in a way where you say, okay, you can only access this page, or you can only mint something on this page if you have been KYC'd. So yes. And then the second part of your question, the SSI part, so self-sovereign identity, that really just comes down to which KYC provider you're using. And I think there's many out there right now. We work, of course, with a company called IMX. So this one. And what IMX is doing, they're basically building a KYC solution, which is already live inside NMKR Studio for our customers. So for the business customers, essentially. And they connect this KYC solution with a, what do you call it? Their own wallet, like an identity wallet. So you do the KYC, you store the identity in your identity wallet. And then if you go to your next page that is also using this standard. You can just connect your wallet, give them access to your KYC, and you don't have to go through the process again. So I think that's a really, really great solution. And yeah, and exactly what the future will look like. Then, in your opinion, how can this funding issue be resolved? Is it a IO, Emurgo, or CF issue? I mean, I don't like to blame any of the funding entities. I think they're all doing fantastic work. We work a lot with the CF, of course. I'm here, you know, we have very good relationships, and it's not really their job to invest into anything. I think they're not even able to do so legally as a foundation in Switzerland. And then, you know, IO, we also work a lot with them, and we're always doing projects together and doing a lot of cool stuff together. So I'm very excited about them. And then Emurgo just recently invested a small amount into NMKR, and I'm working with them here in Japan, or not again here in Japan, but in where I was last week in Japan. So I think the founding entities are doing well, and they are not the ones that can just pour out billions of dollars into the ecosystem. So it's really more about, I don't know, changing the image of Cardano, finding a few projects that actually are able to be pilot projects and to have a lot of funding. And then once you have a few good ones, you know, everyone will come, and just talking to investors, educating them about Cardano, telling them about what is possible here, stuff like that. In the end, they all just want to see money. And I think one possible solution is also the Cardano governance treasury. So that's going to open up very soon. And it opens up, I think, over $1 billion at this point or so of funding that can be put into the ecosystem. So I'm excited about that. And I hope that we can build some good mechanisms to distribute the funding in a nice way using this mechanism. And we'll see how it goes. But I think the funding will resolve itself at some point in the future, but right now it's still difficult. And of course, you know, I want the CF and all these founding entities to talk to more investors, send them directly to me, just write me a check, ideally, Umar, thank you. No, I'm kidding, but yeah, that's kind of my perspective. Next question, very quick one. Coming to Vegas to Rare Evo? Yes, of course. See you there, James. And then the last question, NMKR has IMX digital ID integration. How can I show my customers that the NFT they are purchasing has this authentication? So right now, so what Timmy is talking about is basically we have a way of verifying that a collection has really been made by the people who are saying that they have made it. So for example, imagine if Taylor Swift is launching an NFT collection. Now, how do I actually know that this NFT collection really was made by Taylor Swift? I probably go to her Twitter, and if I trust her Twitter account, I buy it and I believe it. But what if her Twitter is hacked? You know, then maybe it's a scam. And then the way we are solving this is basically we have created an on-chain proof, which Taylor Swift in this case could use to create a direct connection between her social account, Twitter, and the NFT collection on-chain. With a decentralized identifier. And she can do the same with KYC. She can do the same with her Facebook, her Instagram, whatever she likes, essentially. And that is really powerful because then we create redundancy. So even if her Twitter is hacked, you know, I can just go there and I can look, okay, is what do you call it? Is her Facebook also connected? Or is this connected to a KYC? Stuff like that, which is all really powerful. And the reality is no one is using it right now. It's available in NMKR Studio, but it's not really implemented into any of the marketplaces or so. So to check it, you have to go on-chain into a block explorer. It's a lot of hassle, but it needs to be standardized and it needs to be made easier. And we are actually actively working on that. That's a really big topic for me or for NMKR. We are planning to build this out in the whole framework, make it much more accessible. So just give it a little bit more time. We also bought this super nice URL, rwa.id. So you can maybe think about what we're going to do with that. But it all plays into this conversation. And I want to take this standard and I want to really establish it because once we have this, it's very powerful. Okay, I think Umar is texting me that I should be done. And yes, I think we're at the end here. So, oh, okay. I got a thanks. Thank you, Timmy. And then I think that pretty much was it. I was just talking into a screen for 1 hour, but I hope you enjoyed my presentation.